Hello and welcome to Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable with JP and Stacy D. We are broadcasting here on KUAW Radio, which stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. You can also catch the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, and TuneIn. Today, Stacy D is not in the studio. I have my guest co-host. Last week we had guest co-hosts from De La Salle High School and Bernard Campbell, and they are back here with me today. So this is wonderful. I'm excited about this. First up, I have Xavier, who goes to Bernard Campbell. Is that right, Xavier?
Yes, sir.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your school and about you and about the mentoring program that you are participating in that has resulted in me being able to have the pleasure of your company on the show today.
Yes, sir. Like you know, I'm Xavier. I'm 13 years old. My school, I go to Bernard Campbell. I am an 8th grader now, which I'm excited. And the main reason why I'm here today to be able to have this gift to talk to you on the show,
Right.
is because lady Miss V, I helped her with a financial literacy class in Freedom School this summer.
Okay.
And she brought me onto the show because she said I've done a very good job with helping her teach financial literacy to the rest of the other kids at the school.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear young people wanting to learn about financial literacy. And this is wonderful because we, on the show, periodically we talk about investing in stocks, and recently myself and Stacy D and Mr. Walker had a little bit of a competition where we took a certain amount of money and we invested it to see who would end up with the most money after a month's time. Who do you think won that competition, sir?
I think you did.
Of course I did. I was up 30%. I beat the heck out of them in that competition. But so we like to talk about those types of things. And so I am very happy that this is something that is of interest to you at such a young age, because I must confess that at your age, I, I had never heard the terms financial literacy. I knew nothing about financial literacy and don't really think I thought much about money at all, to be totally honest. So this is very impressive. All right, so coming up on the show, we have our check-in, and then we have mental health and illness in the news, and then we have the question of the day. So tell me, what is going to be the question of the day? Let's give our listeners a little bit of a heads up on what the question of the day is going to be on today's show, and then we can get to your check-in. So what's going to be the question of the day? Let me help you with this.
Yes, please.
How can family financial wellness impact your child's mental and physical health? All right. So that is going to be our question of the day. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound like what you guys can? I didn't come up with this. Y'all came up with this. This is your question. Okay. So we're going to discuss that. Let's get to our check-in. The check-in is just where you just talk about anything that's on your mind, anything that has happened over the past week that, is a little interesting. Do you have anything for the check-in?
Yes. It's actually been a pretty good week this week. We just got moved into our new apartment complex, and it has been a very fun and interesting stay. And it feels like home already. Usually I don't really say that, but it feels like home already.
That is great. So are you going to have to switch schools?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Have you met new neighbors in the new apartment complex?
A little bit.
A little bit.
We've
All
met
right.
one couple.
You met one couple. All right. And so far, it's going all right. You're happy. You're content. Is there plenty of kids there?
We do not know. We've heard that there's other kids at the apartment complex, but we have not met them yet.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the schools, are you going to your school because you live in the vicinity of your school, or are you coming from outside of the area of that school?
We are coming outside the area of that school.
Okay, so your new neighbors, the kids that you are going to be meeting that you're living around, they quite possibly go to other schools.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what school is in the area?
I do know where my high school is up the street from our house, Lee Summit North High School.
Okay.
And I do not recall the name of the other ones.
All right. I think it's going to make it interesting meeting kids in your neighborhood who go to different schools. You guys will have different things to talk about, and you will be able to talk about the mentoring program that you are involved in, and maybe a little bit about financial literacy. I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to financial literacy at your age, can you give me a suggestion or something for our listeners to talk to their kids that are in your age range about financial literacy?
Yes, sir. Something that they can talk to their kids about financial literacy, I would say just let them see what it is, mainly because as I know as personal experience, schools don't really talk about it as much as they should.
Right.
So, just give them a thought process or a step-by-step to let them know, or give them information about what financial literacy is and how it's important to them.
All right. I have another question. I want your opinion on this as a young person. Oftentimes adults debate whether or not kids should be given an allowance. Some parents feel like, why are you giving kids an allowance? Their contribution to the household is for them to do their chores. But other parents feel like, well, I'm giving them an allowance as an incentive. Now, there's a whole nother group of parents who feel like giving them an allowance is an opportunity to start teaching them about financial literacy. So tell me, what are your thoughts on that when it comes to allowance and young people? What are your thoughts on it?
Allowance is a very good idea to let them know about financial literacy.
Allowance is a good idea.
Yes.
You're a fan of allowance.
Yes, very.
Okay. Now here's my next question. For parents who are giving their kids allowance, because this comes up in therapy a lot, I will ask the parents, okay, well, you're giving your kid allowance. How are they learning about financial literacy? Because a lot of parents give the kids the allowance, and then the kids, they go to the candy store and they spend all the money and it's gone. And I'm like, okay, I'm confused about where the financial literacy piece is coming in, right? And so what suggestions do you have for your peers when it comes to their allowance?
Save your money.
Save the money.
Yes.
All right. Now, here's my next question. How much should they save? Like, if a kid, let's say a kid is getting, I'm just going to go with an even number so that we can easily do the percentages. If a kid is getting about $10 a week, how much should they save?
$10 a week, I'll say at least save. We're gonna go off a month. I'll at least say save at least $20 to $25.
A month.
Yes.
So let's see. If they're getting $10 a week, that's $40 a month, and you're saying that they should save about 20. How much should they save?
$20 to $25.
$20 to $25 out of the $40 a month. So you're saying that they need to save at least like 50%.
Yes.
So if they're getting $10 a week, the parents should encourage them to save at least $5 out of the 10, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when it comes to saving the money, exactly how should they be doing that? Are we talking a piggy bank? Or are we talking about one of those kid bank accounts? Because there are like kid bank accounts, and recently I heard a parent say that her kid has a kid's bank account that has a debit card, and so he has access to his money. She hopes that he's saving it, but he has his own little debit card, so he could spend it all if he wanted to. What do you suggest? Where should this money be saved?
Save like a bank account, or like I would say a little like at home wallet or at home safe or something like that. So then you can see how much money you can take out, but you can also see the progress that you're bringing in by saving your money.
Great. So to help with the financial literacy piece, they need to see the money, see what's going in. You know, if they're earning any interest, they will be able to see that. And if they are spending any of the money, they can learn about, balancing their account, the little checkbook or whatever it is, all of that, right? So you're suggesting a more structured approach as opposed to just, we're going to put this money in a shoebox.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're not playing the whole shoebox mess, right?
No.
No, okay. All right. Exactly. You're really sharp and on top of this. I appreciate what knowledge and information you are sharing for the parents out there who are listening to the show and who are involved in this debate. Do we give the kids allowance? Do we not give them allowance? Is it a good idea? Is it not a good idea? So thank you for sharing, some light, sharing your viewpoint and shedding a little light on that.
Thank you.
All right. So are we ready you going to take us to break?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with mental health and illness and the news.
In the news. That's right. Thank you.
Hello, Kansas City. This is Emma Venn with AfriPel. I am encouraging you to come out August 26th for the African Gospel Festival 3.0. If you're looking for a great African food, vendors, gospel artists, that will be the place to be. Highland Community Church of Christ, August 26th, beginning at 5 p.m. Call me, 816-824-0033. 0275. See you there. Hello, Kansas City. This is Emma Venn with AfriPel. I am encouraging you to come out August 26th for the African Gospel Festival 3.0. If you're looking for a great African food, vendors, gospel artists, that will be the place to be. Highland Community Church of Christ, August 26th, beginning at 5 p.m. Call me 816-824-0275. See you there.
Welcome back to the show. It is now time for mental health and illness in the news. And my two co-hosts for this segment are Ariana and Lyric. Ariana and Lyric, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, what school you go to, just, whatever it is that you have to say. You can go first, Ariana.
Okay. My name's Ariana Holmes. I go to De La Salle High School. Going to be a junior. That's it.
My name is Lyric Pleasant, and I go to De La Salle, and I'll be a junior this year.
All right. And when is the first day of school?
August 21st, I believe.
All right.
Yeah.
And are you too excited about school starting back up, or are you like, no, not really? The
Yeah.
summer is so much fun that you're not. Are you excited about it or not?
I am.
Okay, so you're ready to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Ariana? See, I was more like you as a kid. A lot of kids, I remember when I was a kid, a lot of kids, as the summer would drag on, they'd be like, I'm ready to go back to school. That was never me. I was like, no, the summer is not long enough. I am not ready to go back because I just enjoy the summer. So even though you are not exactly excited about going back, you're going to be ready to hit the ground running
Yes.
and handle business. All right. And you two are both entering into junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is great. Are you guys ready for mental health and illness in the news?
Yes.
All right, so tell me what you got. What story do y'all have for me?
How my legacy admissions to college or local jobs impact ability to learn or income.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about that? What is that about?
Rich kids or people who go to private school have more access to education tools or getting better colleges because they have an advantage compared to other kids.
Because of their money. All right. And so, what is the solution to that for kids who are perhaps growing up in the urban core and who do not have the financial resources that some of these wealthy kids have? What is a solution? What options do they have? How do kids without money get into school?
Having like knowing their education, like knowing what they're doing, like without having to go to school, like knowing all their tools and right from wrong, stuff like that.
Okay, all right. And Lyric, do you have any thoughts on that? Lyric, don't look at me like that, girl. I saw that look. What are your thoughts on kids who don't have wealthy parents, but they want to continue their education? They want to go to college. How do they get there?
Sometimes I would say like they parents though. Sometimes
No, I'm talking about people with
like,
broke parents. Lyric,
I don't
the
know.
broke parents. How do those kids get there? Let me give y'all some ideas. Can I give y'all some ideas? Here's the thing about education. Education is not exclusive to the wealthy. And I am an example of that. I do not come from a wealthy parent, but I still have ended up a therapist. There are other options. Now, in modern educational times, options that we didn't have when I was a kid is a lot of the high schools give high school seniors the opportunity to take college level classes and get college credits while they are in high school. I know young people who have graduated with their high school diploma and their associate's degree, which is the first 2 years of college, already out of the way when they get their high school diploma. That alone can save a kid $15,000, $20,000 compared to going to a university and taking those classes, because those first level core classes they're like your English, your math requirement, a physical science, a life science. And so for young people who do not have a lot of money, it is a good idea for them to take those classes for free while they are in high school, as opposed to waiting and going to a university and spending $15,000, $20,000 on them. So that is one option that is available to young people these days. Other options are grants and scholarships. There are tons of scholarships that go unused every year. And these are not just academic scholarships, because a lot of times young people are like, I want to go to college, but I don't have all A's and B's, and so I don't think I'm going to be able to get a scholarship. But there are scholarships that are geared towards, if you come from a single parent home, and if you're below certain economic, socioeconomic status, meaning your parents are making below this amount of money, there are lots of scholarships that don't have anything to do with a kid's grades. And so this is another way for young people to be able to go to college and, not have to worry about the fact that their parents are not in a position to pay for it. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times people will not go to college because they feel like, okay, I don't have any of these other options. The only option I have is student loans, and I don't want student loans, so I'm not going to go to college. Here's the problem with that. Nobody wants student loans, okay? Like, nobody wants student loans. But, and I'm going to use myself as an example. When my senior year, I was working as a server at Red Lobster. And I had to think about, do I want to take these loans out? Because how am I going to pay for these loans? Here's the thing that I thought about. I cannot go to college and continue making $2.01 an hour. Yeah, $2.01 an hour. That's what Red Lobster was paying me. Minimum wage was $3.35. These fools was paying me $2.01. And let me explain why. Waiters, servers make less per hour because they're supposed to be making the rest of their money in tips. But I was working the lunch shift, and everybody coming up in Red Lobster was at least 60-something years old, okay? Now, nothing against my listeners out there who are in their 60s. Let me... or Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker sitting over there in his 60s. Mr. Walker dancing around in his 60s. Check this out. Let me clean this up real fast. Although this is speaking the unspeakable. Okay. Nothing against people in their 60s. There are many people in their 60s who tip well. I'm just saying they wasn't at Red Lobster when I was working up in there. Okay. They were not tipping well. So I was getting my $2.01 an hour, and then I was getting like maybe another $2 an hour. So I was getting about $4. This is so ridiculous now that I think about it. Like, I was broke. And so my thoughts were, I would rather go to college, end up with the student loans, but have a career that allows me to pay the student loan payments than for me to continue making that $4 an hour. And that's the reason why, student loans are a last resort. Let me just say that. They are a last resort. But if you're choosing between student loans and not going to college at all, think about the fact that if you choose a career and you get in your career, you're going to make enough money to pay your student loan payments. And then there are a lot of careers where you can have your student loans dismissed. Okay. And so, for example, my degree in social work, there were so many options and places that I could have worked at that would have dismissed those student loans. Teachers can get their student loans dismissed. There's a lot of professions where if you graduate and you work in certain areas, you can get the student loans dismissed anyway. Okay. And so that's what I want you guys to think about, especially when it comes to conversations that you are having with your peers. If you have some friends who are saying, my parents don't have the money for college, I don't have the money, and I don't want to take out loans, it's like, it would be better to take out loans and have a job where you can pay the loans and still live comfortably than to not go and never make enough money. So I'm not going to lie. I hate having student loans because I worked at a community mental health center, but it wasn't owned by the county, so my loans were not dismissed. I hate having my student loans. At the same time, I do appreciate the fact that as a therapist, I make enough, and they adjust your loan payments based upon your income anyway. So I make enough to still be able to live comfortably and pay the loan payments. So no one should avoid school because they want to avoid loans. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. What I am encouraging young people, especially starting junior year, is to meet with your guidance counselor at school and discuss all of your options. Like, hey, you just show up in their office like, look, what's my options? Okay, because I need to get some grants and some scholarships and da-da-da-da. Find me some money, because that's their job, to find you some money. Okay, and so you show up and say, look, find me the money now. Loans are a last resort. But I am not going to pass on getting an education because of loans. And if you guys can take some college courses and get those credits out of the way while you're in high school for free, please do so. Y'all have any thoughts on that?
No.
All right. This article, do you guys have any other thoughts on this article? Is there anything that you want people to think about when it comes to the advantages that wealthy people have over people who do not have a lot of financial means?
Yeah.
What you got?
Managing their money the right way.
Okay, the young people who are trying to go to college
I mean,
need to manage their money
yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
You're right. You are so right. A mistake that a lot of young people make when it comes to college is because sometimes people, as I said, they have to take out the loans, but they'll have loans and grants, a mixture of the two. College freshmen are immediately offered credit cards. I don't know what it is. Like everywhere you go on a college campus, they give you these applications for credit cards, and a lot of times college students make the mistake of getting a credit card and spending that money quickly, but they don't have the money to pay for it, and it ends up damaging their credit. So you are so right. I like what you just said, Lyric. Like whatever money you do have, even if it's just $4 an hour, be careful with what you do with your money. Okay. Do you have any other great advice for young people who are wanting to go to college? All right. Now, we need to get to the question of the day, but I have a couple of more quick questions. Have you two thought about what college or university you want to go to?
Yes.
Really? Okay. So tell me which one.
I want to go to HBCU in Savannah, Georgia.
All right. So you want to do the HBCU. All right. And Lyric, have you thought about it's okay if you I didn't figure it out till I was like a senior.
I mean,
So Ariana's like ahead of the game. Have you thought about what school you would like to go to?
no, I know that I wanted to be in like Texas though, not here.
So you want to be somewhere in Texas.
Yeah.
Do you know how hot it is in Texas?
Yeah. Ain't nothing
Okay.
wrong with that.
Oh, it ain't nothing wrong with that Texas heat. Ooh,
That's different.
I can't handle the heat here. Okay, for those of you listeners and viewers out there who are from other areas around the country, it is, if you've never been to Kansas City, it's like we're cooking here. Like you are well done by the time you get home. But it's hotter in Texas. But Texas, that's your place.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there.
Okay. I will say this. Although I myself am not particularly a fan of Texas, and one of my frat brothers is listening to this show and he's in Texas, I do know a lot of people in Texas. They love Texas. They don't care how hot it is. They don't care about all them racial problems they be having. They're like, we love it here. So, obviously there's something to Texas. Do you have any other thoughts as far as college is concerned? Oh, here's a go. We talked about, for those of you who missed the show last week, both Ariana and Lyric are interested in mental health, right? We're talking about two future therapists, which makes me so happy because as a clinician myself, as a psychotherapist myself, I love when young people think about this. Have you thought about what population you plan to work with as a therapist? Do you plan to work with just kids? Do you plan to work with kids and adults? Do you plan to do just couples therapy? Like, what's the plan?
I would say,
Teenagers.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Teenagers like around my age because like going through what I go through now, I feel
Alright.
like I would be able to relate more with teenagers when I'm older and help better. Great.
And I feel like, not that I don't enjoy my adults that I see in therapy, but my specialization is adolescent treatment, which is teenagers. I see tons of adults, but that's my specialization. And I find teenagers to be the most enjoyable population to work with in therapy. Now, here's something interesting for you to know. You will not have as much competition because there are a lot of therapists who, how should I put it? They choose to bypass the teenagers because sometimes teenagers can be a little intimidating, and so there are therapists who are like, I can't, the teenagers, they might be a little bit too much for me. And so for you as a therapist who's going to be working with teenagers, you have plenty of teenagers to choose from. All right. Lyric, have you thought about who you're going to be treating in therapy? Who you
Yeah.
helping?
I would say kids and couples. But
Okay. All right. And let me tell you, couples therapy, I've been a therapist for 25 years now. I started as a young therapist in my 20s. I didn't do a lot of couples therapy the first 10 years or so. And I have to admit, I have grown to love seeing couples of all ages too. I have teenagers that'll be like, can I bring my girlfriend to therapy next week? I'll be like, bring her up in here, but you need to warn her because we keep it real up in here. And so it's always kind of interesting to be working with these young teenage couples and these 60-year-old couples and everybody in the middle.
right.
So, and the dynamic is very different between what's going on with a young couple and the things that older couples are dealing with. So that's going to be very interesting also.
Yeah.
All right. Are y'all ready to take us to break so that we can get to the question of the day?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back after these short messages with the question of the day. All right, welcome back to the show. It is now time for our question of the day. We have Xavier and Lyric. Tell us again, what is the question of the day?
How can family financial wellness impact your child's mental and physical health?
All right, now, the way we do this on the show typically is I will present a clinical perspective on this, meaning, the diagnostic aspects of it. But before I get into that, as far as how it affects young people psychologically when there are, financial issues around financial wellness, I just want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this. because you came up with this question of the day. So, what are your thoughts on this? How can family financial wellness impact your child's mental and physical health?
Kids pick up on financial stress. Like sometimes they stress over needing things or feeling guilty or sometimes feeling like the problem.
You're right. And so you're saying that they become stressed.
Yeah.
All right. And so here's the clinical background on that. What you are describing is called adjustment disorder with anxiety. Let me explain the adjustment disorders. Everybody on the planet experiences adjustment disorders, all right? When life happens and you are affected by it, that's called adjustment disorder. And so a lot of times there are people who don't want to go to therapy because they're like, I don't want to be diagnosed and I don't want to be, some therapist telling me that I'm crazy. But the truth of the matter is the adjustment disorders actually make you a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Every normal person experiences them. For example, if we experience a loss, right? Let's say we experience a loss and you are sad and you are tearful and crying. You don't have much of an appetite. You're having trouble sleeping. You're having dreams that are disturbing and you're dreaming about the lost loved one. Those are all symptoms of depression. But because they are connected to a loss, the loss of a loved one, the diagnosis is not major depressive disorder. It is adjustment disorder with depressed mood. It's all the symptoms of depression, but it is caused by a life situation. And so what you just described, Lyric, is when there's financial problems in a household and a kid is experiencing stress from it, that is adjustment disorder with anxiety, because the symptoms of anxiety are being caused by, okay, our money is funny up in here. And that actually makes a person normal to experience that. It's a very good job. All right, Xavier, tell me, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I was kind of gonna say something like that, but like how she said that it was gonna be like you felt like you were a problem. Like I kind of feel that sometimes with family around me too, because they're going through money problems and issues and things that I need. Like I have a music program at my school.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I need, things that are required, are also a lot of money, and it makes me seem like, should I keep doing this? But because it's way too much money for them to be paying too.
Right. And that is a very common thing that kids face is, okay, my parents are struggling financially. I want to play football, but then I need like cleats and I need this and I need that. Or I want to do this activity at school or that activity at school, and they cost money. And I don't want to ask my parents. I don't want to put additional stress on them because they are already struggling financially. And not asking or even asking increases the level of stress upon the kid.
And sometimes not having enough money can affect your your everyday life. Like you playing sports and stuff, sometimes you can lose interest in it sometimes because you're thinking of that, stressing about that. It sometimes mess with you. Like sometimes sports can take your mind off it, but not all the time.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Sports, athletics, exercise, it helps us psychologically. It actually helps to reduce stress and anxiety.
And sometimes it can cause it though.
It can cause it, especially if you need cleats and you
Don't
know
have
that
it.
your parents don't have the money to buy them, and you are like, oh my God, I have to ask my parents for this money that they do not have. Like, they do not have the athletic fees that the school wants, and the money for the cleats, and the money for this, and money for that. And so something that is on one hand supposed to help a kid to manage their stress, in another way it becomes a stressor. So what do kids do? What can a kid in that position do?
I don't know. Answer that question.
Well, here's something that a lot of kids do. Some kids try to earn some money on their own, cutting grass, or, helping, neighbors with other things, raking their lawn or shoveling snow or different things like that to help pay for it. But what other kids do is they just go to their coach and say, my parents do not have the money for this. A lot of times the school will help with those financial situations and will discreetly, without all the other kids knowing, will discreetly figure out a way to get that kid what they need.
And I could say it's a little off topic, but like with D-Lot Sale, they provide things like that when you can't afford it. So that's why they give us different resources to get those type of
Right.
things as well.
Yes. Be open about the problem. Talk to your coaches, talk to your counselor about, hey, I want to do this, but I don't have the money to do it. What other kids do is engage in some of the activities that school offers that don't really cost money.
Right.
Like theater and music and, singing in the choir. Like, there are schools offer plenty of activities that are a good social outlet, but they don't cost the kids money. But for kids who are athletically inclined, they are skilled and gifted in the area of whatever the sport is, I always encourage them to just talk to the coaches, and the school will help figure out how to get that money.
Right.
So, what else are you guys' thoughts on this before I get into my thoughts?
Oh,
We covered y'all's thoughts on this. Okay, so let's talk about the effects of financial stress on kids, because one of the things you guys mentioned is physical effects. And stress and anxiety, it can affect kids physically with headaches and stomach problems, bowel problems. Like, you are right in saying that it can affect kids also on a physical level. So the goal is managing that stress and anxiety. And so this is the reason why a lot of kids will, they'll have a therapist that they see, or they'll just see their counselor at school to talk these things through and learn to manage some of that stress and that anxiety. Therapists can help kids with what we call behavioral interventions, which are behavioral things you can do to reduce stress. Things like exercise and meditation and breathing exercises, and things along the line of that, as well as problem solving. Because the first step towards reducing stress and anxiety is to see if some problem solving can be done around the situation. Okay. When you have something going on that is stressing you out, you always want to start with, can I eliminate this problem, or can I solve this problem? And if you can't eliminate or solve the problem, then you work on, okay, how can I cope with it? Because I can't get rid of it. So I need to learn to cope with how it is stressing me out. Now, there's a whole nother aspect to this whole situation that I want you to think about. Okay? And here it is. Have you ever heard old folks talk about, well, I guess to y'all I'm old, but I mean like old, like, you know, Mr. Walker. He the only person in this studio that's older than me. Okay. Mr. Walker, I'll mess with you. But really, think about this. Have you guys ever heard, I'm talking about really old folks, talk about how when they were a kid, they didn't have much. They always say, we didn't have much, Lord knows we didn't. But we was so happy, we didn't even know we was broke.
And that be like, kids nowadays, y'all be wanting too much. They be.
Yes. So let's take a look at that. When you have old folks talk about how they grew up poor, but they were not experiencing these negative effects that you guys presented in your question of the day, then the question becomes, how is that? Here's something else I want you guys to think about. Because as a therapist, I have wealthy clients that I see in therapy too. And so I see kids who are struggling with depression and anxiety, social anxiety, and they have wealthy families.
Right.
And so that makes you think about, okay, money or the lack of money, it affects people, but it is possible for people to be happy even if they are living in poverty. And so let's take a look at that, right? Now, let's take, you can have a kid whose family has a lot of money and a kid who has little money, right? And you have, kids who have a lot of money and they're happy. And you have kids who have a lot of money and they're depressed.
Right.
And you have kids whose family has hardly no money, but they're like, well, I didn't even know we was broke. Okay, because they're happy. But then you have kids whose family has not much money and they are depressed. So you have to take a look at what is the other factor at play in this. The other factor at play when you look at life satisfaction is in a family, what does the family bond and relationships look like? Because some of these kids who come from wealthy families who are not happy, they're depressed because they have parents who are traveling all over the world. They're being raised by the nanny and the housekeeper. The parents aren't available to go to their games, to go to their choir recitals, to go to their dance recitals. And they have all this money and they're living in this mansion, but they are depressed.
I could say a lot of people be like, money bring happiness. It's not always about that, though.
That is my point. Because when you look at the families who have not much money, but they're happy, what is making them happy is that bond. When you talk to those elderly people who say, my family, we didn't have any money, we grew up poor, but I didn't even know we was poor. Their basic needs were met. The basic needs are food, shelter, clothes. Now these are some things that just absolutely have to be met, okay?
Right.
But aside from that, they didn't have the most expensive shoes. They wasn't, wearing the most expensive shoes. Their parents weren't driving them around in Benzes and Beamers and Lexuses, but they didn't have anything, but they were happy. And when you talk to them further, what they end up describing is the love in that family, the bonding, that despite the fact that they didn't have much, they still spent lots of quality time together. The parents took the time to actually pay attention to them and would talk to them. This is something that we talked about on the show last week. Am I correct, Xavier? Something that you and I talked about during the question of the day, because you were saying that there are kids out there who are trying to get their parents' attention and they can't get the parents' attention. And so what my point is if you are from a wealthy family or a poor family, if parents are not paying attention to their kids, that kid is going to be at risk of experiencing depression and anxiety.
And most rich parents, they like buy their kid this, buy their kid that. They don't really want. They be like, "Why aren't you happy? I buy you this. I buy you." They don't always want that,
And
so
what
they feel like their kid is ungrateful.
Right. And what I say to those parents when I am seeing them in therapy, because you're right. Sometimes they'll come in, they like, I don't know why this boy ain't happy. I
Right.
bought him a brand new car and he got on the best shoes. He got the Jordans. He got everything he asked for. He got what he wanted for Christmas, and the boy still ain't happy. And then the kid is sitting there like, I don't care about all of that.
Right.
You never show up in my games. You do not come to the play that I was in. You don't spend time with me. You don't eat with me. You don't talk to me. You don't do anything with me. But you think because you bought me Jordans that, ooh, I'm supposed to be happy and you're this great parent.
Right.
And so that is what parents have to think about, is that if you want your kid to be happy, if you want your kid to have life satisfaction, invest energy in your kid, invest love in your kid. Whether you got a ton of money or whether you broke, that is what is necessary. Mm-hmm. Kids need to know that, that parents give a crap. Like, you had me, I'm here. I didn't ask to be born. I'm here. So you are supposed to invest time and energy and love and attention in me. So when you guys are at school and you're talking to friends of yours who may be rich kids, they might be poor kids, but if they are unhappy, I want you guys to talk to them about why they're unhappy. And oftentimes, it's going to have to do with more than money. Mm-hmm. Now, I did say that a kid's basic needs have to be met, okay? If the kid is homeless and sleeping under a bridge, okay, and even if a parent's paying a whole lot of attention, the kid is like, it's hot under this bridge. Now, I need you fools to figure something out, okay? Because, it's hot under this bridge. And it's going to be cold soon. And I ain't trying to sleep up under this bridge in December. And but here's something to think about. We, fortunately, live in a society where really no kid should be left sleeping under a bridge.
Right.
There are too many resources in our society to prevent kids from living in that condition. So when kids are living in that condition, the parents have dropped the ball somewhere along the line. Okay, between affordable housing and other, state and federal programs that, between food stamps and Medicaid and this and that and this and that, we should not have kids whose basic needs are not being met. So when a kid is in a situation where their basic needs are not being met, yes, they're depressed and pissed. Because they're like, I know I ain't supposed to be why are we under the bridge?
Right. And they see everybody else just,
Exactly. They're like, you fools dropped the ball somehow. And I'm not encouraging kids to talk to their parents like this. Listen. Young people don't talk to your parents like this. What you do is you go to therapy and let the therapist talk to them like this. Because this is what I will say to parents, you fools dropped the ball.
Right.
Pull it together. Let's discuss your options. And I will refer them for social work services and different things like that to help them get it together. But the core the first thing that needs to be in place, the foundation and the key to a kid having a happy childhood, is the adults in their lives caring and showing them that they care. And what we talked about last week is, if you have a parent who is struggling in that area, sometimes parents don't know what to do. And so what kids have to do is be willing to talk to their parent.
Right.
And say, like, you missed my game again. Like, you missed my game. Oh, I didn't think you, because let me tell you, your auntie, okay, you missed my game.
Yeah, that's the main part.
And because a lot of times when I see families in therapy, the problem is the kids have so much on their mind. They have so much to say about why they're not happy, but they don't say it. And they wait until they are in therapy to say it. But like, the majority of kids are not in therapy. And so kids have to be willing to speak up to their parents. Even the rich kids have to be able to say, listen, not that I don't appreciate that car that you bought, because I do drive that sucker. I do drive it. Nah, I ain't giving the keys back to that ride. But I ain't seen you people like in weeks. Because you was in London and Greece and here and there. You was everywhere but here. And I know my nanny better than I know you. So kids have to be willing to talk. All right? And this goes across all households, whether it's kids who live with their biological parents, even kids who live in foster homes, because foster parents are, I'm a former foster parent myself, foster parents are expected to meet their kids' emotional needs. And so when that's not being done, kids have a right to say, hey, I'm not happy. All right. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this? Because we got 1 minute left.
No.
Y'all see how well y'all time this? Y'all time this. We're going to take a minute to talk about how y'all flowed through this. Y'all timed this really well. Have we thoroughly covered this question of the day? Because if you have any final thoughts on it, this is the time to say so. Y'all got anything else? All right. We are good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, and God bless.